All right, ready? Here we go. So here we go, my top 5 most stressful moments taken from the 785,000 that I've experienced in my 30 years hanging around just for laughs and just pour rire. Number 5 is actually Gala 5, and we did a gala that was a creation by this Belgian director named Marc Delon. Anyway, 6 o'clock the show, I'm backstage, and they still hadn't rehearsed it, and the show started at 7. It was a true disaster. And you've seen some bad shows, but this was a true disaster when I was sitting in the crowd and you just were watching this thing unfold on stage, and it's just terrible. And the people know it's terrible because they start booing. And never mind booing, they start leaving en masse to a point where the show couldn't continue. They had to basically shut down the show. And I went outside to the ticket wicket, it was at St. Denis Theatre, and people were there banging and screaming for refunds. It was crazy. So the next day we had to refund everybody, and I literally hid under my desk.
Nous avons essayé quelque chose qui n'a pas marché. Nous sommes ici, nous sommes responsables, et nous disons, OK, c'est pas marché, c'est pas votre faute, c'est notre faute, on va payer pour.
Number 4 was a gala a couple of years ago. John Cleese, the very famous British comedian who was in Monty Python. And I got a call the morning of his gala saying that John's not feeling well. In fact, not only is he not feeling well, he's in the hospital. And not only is he in the hospital, but he's maybe close to death. I said, oh, that should be a fun night tonight. So we had to replace him. And he ended up, he had, I think it was called prostatitis, which is a disease that affects men's penises and their urinary tract. So he actually made it to the show Sunday night. We rescheduled the show Sunday night. So he was basically from death to the stage on Sunday night. But during that show Sunday night, you never knew. He was kind of tired and weak. You never knew when he was really going to fall over. And on top of it all, part of the show had to be he was kicked in the groin. Somebody had to kick him in the groin, and he just had prostatitis. So he was wearing, I was a goaltender at the time, a hockey goalie, and he was wearing my jock strap, this big hockey goaltender jock strap. So when the kick came, he said, no, we're going with the show, but he actually kicked him right in the groin wearing my hockey jock strap. That was stressful. We moved our outdoor event from St. Denis Street to the Old Port, because what we wanted to do is basically control an area to ourselves. So we fenced off the Old Port, and we created this wonderland, this world that was unbelievable. And they took me to see it on the night before it was opening, and they took me on a golf cart. And that night we had a usual, what happens in Montreal in July, a thunderstorm. But it was more than a thunderstorm. It was actually a tornado, a micro tornado that touched down where? Right on site. It was a micro tornado. It could have picked millions of other places, but no, right in the middle of sight. And it basically destroyed the entire site. So the next morning I had to go back with this golf cart, going through it and seeing, you're in like a ruin. It was like Hurricane Katrina. Number 2, there was an act called the Tokyo Shock Boys that came from Tokyo, Japan. And basically they were very, very highbrow, very, very cultured. They would stick firecrackers in their nose and light it. They would stick firecrackers in the diaper a guy was wearing and light it. One guy would crazy glue his bald head to another guy's ass while they were dancing. But what was really stressful is they had this bit where one of the guys would go in a bag and the other guy would take a vacuum and suck the air out of the bag, and the guy would look like a raisin. So they were controlled, but there was a guy who loved to watch this Tokyo Shock Boys. His name is Drew Carey. And you may know Drew Carey because he's a massive American star, and now he's the host of The Price is Right. And he was hosting one of our shows that night. So he got on stage with the Tokyo Shock Boys. This is what he wanted to do. This was his dream. So we watched him, the star of our show, get on stage with Tokyo Shock Boys. They put him in the bag. They sucked the air out. And you see Drew Carey, the star of our show, going like this, and he's like a raisin, and it's tightening up on him, and he's like, and this guy could have suffocated. So that was kind of stressful. But number 1, 1989, this Scottish performer named Jerry Sadowitz was on stage and did about 10 minutes slagging off Québécois, just shitting all over the Québécois people.
Station, please. Oh, no, en français, en français. All right, here we go.
One of the fans got up, walked down the aisle, got up on stage, went to this guy, and basically started punching him in the face, live in front of everybody. So it sort of like killed the mood that night. This was the audience the whole night. Was like, they were still in shock through the live television taping after seeing somebody get beat up live on stage. So these are my most stressful moments, and we should understand why I go ahead and count on these Prozac pills to keep me going through the festival time. Thanks for listening.